Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher. It is about us, the authors.
Aloha! Welcome everyone to my live author booth session. My name is Dr. Theresa and I am a pediatrician. I've been in private practice. This year makes it 40 years. I am also an author. I have 2 books, The Happy Healthy Revolution, A Working Parent's Guide to Achieving Wellness as a Family, and my second book, my COVID-19 diary. And today, I'm so happy that you're able to take some time off from your busy schedule and join me. I'm going to talk about intermittent fasting. This is a topic that it's getting a lot of buzz in the medical field, and it's something very close to my heart. 2 years ago, I found myself pre-diabetic, kind of considering, increasing my statins, a little bit of hypertension. Always thought I was healthy, but a lot of these health problems started to creep in. And then I found intermittent fasting, which really has turned my health around completely. So let's go to the first slide, Carolyn. So next slide, please. I'd like to talk about, first of all, a definition of intermittent fasting. So, many of you out there, have maybe tried many types of diets, a keto diet, a Mediterranean diet, a low-calorie diet, and so sometimes nothing seems to work, and then you stop that diet, and then something just rebounds. Well, I wanted to talk to you about intermittent fasting because it's more of just a cycle. What you're going to do is you're going to have a period of fasting, and then there's a window where you can eat. Now, when you talk about intermittent fasting, a lot of times people just talk about it in terms of weight loss, but later, I'm going to explain to you that there's so many other benefits, such as improved brain power, more focus, better memory, increased energy. But even at the cellular level, it helps to repair damaged cell and maybe even prevent cancer. Intermittent fasting is not really a diet, but you customize it to meet your needs and schedule. So rather than saying you eat these specific foods, it's more of a concept. The most fascinating thing about intermittent fasting is it really goes to the core of the problem. It helps you to regulate your insulin hormone. Next slide, please. So basically, how does it work? You know, for many, many, many thousands of years, our bodies were made to go through periods of resting between eating. You know, we never had, oh, let's snack and eat 6 or 8 times a day. So when we're resting between meals, all of that energy that would be used for digestion now goes into detoxification. When we take longer breaks between meals, what happens is our glucose level does not rise, and as a result, our insulin drops. So insulin tends to want to convert glucose and store it as fat. But when your insulin goes down, it allows fat to be released. If we go long enough with fasting, then our body will now start to burn stored fat. It also increases our fat burning hormone called norepinephrine or noradrenaline. And that can also, fasting will actually increase your metabolic rate a little. Next slide, please. So this photo on of me in my white coat, that was taken maybe 20 years ago. I had always been pretty healthy as a young person. I enjoyed tennis and all sports. But then when I went to medical school and had my 4 children, I didn't have the time to really take care of myself. Slowly, you know, the weight started coming on. This is when I think my peak weight was about 155. And my doctor said, oh, you know, I was having some knee problems. And he said, you know, if you just lost 5 or 10 pounds, you know, it would be better. And I was so happy I wasn't gaining weight, but it was just this stubborn weight that would not leave me, no matter how much I exercised or, you know, how much I watched what I was eating. So about 2 years ago, I went on this journey. I had read about it, and it wasn't even my doctor who told me to do it, but I decided all I would do was just stop eating breakfast. You know, we've been told breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I made my children and my husband eat breakfast. But suddenly, when I stopped eating breakfast, I was now fasting from 8 p.m. till 12 noon. So that would have been about a 16-hour fast. And lo and behold, the pounds came falling off. And so right now I'm at about 133. So I've been very stable for the last year and a half. I just have more energy. I think I actually look better. I feel better. I sleep better. My knee problems have gone. I've gotten rid of my prescription medications. And this is my really my passion now, is to share this with all of you. Next slide, please. So again, as I mentioned, the many benefits of intermittent fasting. Number one, when you cut out breakfast, you're actually cutting out about 20-25% of your calories right off the bat. And since we're during that time of fasting, like in the morning, I'll drink either hot tea, water, or maybe some coffee with just a little bit of stevia in it. So when we're fasting, now our body continues to burn fat because we're not getting all those extra carbs and glucose coming in. Intermittent fasting decreases inflammation of the body, and it really helps with a range of health issues, from arthritic pain to even people with asthma. When you're intermittent fasting, your body is able to clear out toxin and damaged cells. The medical term is called autophagy. And this in turn will decrease your risk of certain cancers as well as enhance your brain function. Because you're improving your insulin, you also protect yourself from Alzheimer's, which is actually now something that's a big problem. Intermittent fasting will also increase production of human growth hormone, and that improves your lean body mass, your muscle growth, and muscle strength. And finally, some new studies show that intermittent fasting will help you live longer, just as they've been doing a lot of studies in Okinawa about calorie restricted diet. Intermittent fasting may actually prolong your life. Next slide, please. Now, with intermittent fasting, I tell everyone, just start slowly. What you could do, you could just maybe start with no snacks in between meals. I think that's a good start. We're brainwashed to thinking, oh, if you don't have a snack, you're going to go hungry, and for whatever reason, you might feel shaky, and you won't die, but there's always this myth that we should be snacking constantly. Our bodies were not made to be snacking. Now, once you accomplish that, I tell people, how about if you consider stopping breakfast? So say, this is the schedule I've been following for 2 years. Say you stop eating, you have dinner at 7 p.m. So when you take advantage of your sleep time at night, and then in the morning, a lot of us don't even feel hungry in the morning. Just drink water, tea, or coffee, preferably black, not with a whole lot of additives. And then try to see if you can make it till 10, 11, or 12, and then have your lunch and have your dinner. So now we're talking about 14 hours of fasting and a 10-hour period of eating. For me and many people, a lot of people go to the 16-hour fasting and 8-hour window of eating. When you do eat, and this is a mistake a lot of people make, you can't be eating junk food or foods with no nutrients, because now you're down to 2 meals a day. You have to eat foods that are nutrient dense, whole foods, fruit, vegetables, meat, eggs, dairy, and you have to make sure you have adequate protein. As I mentioned before, sometimes people say, oh, but I get so hungry. From my experience, the first week was a little bit difficult. You get a little bit of hunger pains, but again, hunger pangs will come as in waves. And after about a week, in the morning, I don't even feel hungry anymore. Again, find ways to distract yourself. Look at your environment, clean up your cupboards, and just try to make the temptation, distract yourself when it is, quote, snack time or breakfast time. Next slide, please. Now, I just wanted to put this in because for those of you out there, it's not for everyone. So these are people who really should not be doing it. If you're pregnant or breastfeeding, because your body is already under a lot of stress and demands. If you are trying to get pregnant, it can affect your fertility because it disrupts the menstrual cycle. So children 18 years and under, because of their rapid growth, intermittent fasting is not recommended. Anyone who is already underweight and malnourished, of course, should not be fasting. If you have a history of eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, of course, intermittent fasting should not be done. And finally, anyone who's taking medications to lower blood sugar, diabetics or other conditions. And always, always, even if you don't have any of this, my message is, I'm not your physician. You need to talk to your doctor about intermittent fasting. Next slide, please. So these are, I've done many talks. So these are the three most common questions that I notice I've been getting. Will I lose muscle when I fast? Currently, the evidence shows that, of course, it's unlikely to lose muscle mass, especially if you are engaged in resistance training and eating adequate protein. And remember, I mentioned that human growth hormone actually increases when you're fasting. Another question I always get is, can I work out while fasting? Most definitely. In fact, for me, before lunch, I either go swimming or I go walking. I go rucking with a backpack. And exercising while fasting is a good way to tap even more into your fat stores. So as long as it's just, moderate intensity exercise, there is no problem. And then finally, I already touched on this, isn't breakfast the most important meal of the day? And again, my answer to that is, we have been brainwashed for the last 50 years. We heard that message over and over and over. And a lot of that had come from advertisement for breakfast cereals, especially the Kellogg's company. They were trying to push their cereals. So really trying to look for hard scientific evidence, and there's none or very little about research that supports this claim. It is also found that hunger is generally the lowest in the morning. And so it makes it easy to skip breakfast. Next slide, please. Now, I wanted to share with you, Dr. Jason Fung, back in the late 1900s and early 2000s, he is an adult nephrologist who's really considered by many in the medical field the father of intermittent fasting. He put it out there, 30 years ago, and people would ridicule him and make fun of him, but he just kept persisting, and now he has 3 best-selling books, which I would highly recommend. It's called The Obesity Code, The Diabetes Code, and The Cancer Code. So intermittent fasting can help to overturn all 3 of these. He also does wonderful podcasts. So if you go on YouTube and Google Dr. Jason Fung, every week he does a 10-minute podcast talking about various health issues, especially intermittent fasting, but he does it in a way where it's geared toward lay people not in the medical field. And I think you would really enjoy it if you listen to him. He keeps pounding on the fact that intermittent fasting gives you the power. It gives you the choice to get the result you want. And really what it comes down to, again, is allowing your body to use the stored calories or fat in our body. The nice thing about intermittent fasting is it's flexible. When my husband and I are on a cruise, we may have breakfast sometimes. If if someone invites us to brunch, we're going to go to brunch. But then we kind of get back into what our usual schedule was. Next slide, please. So just a quick summary again of intermittent fasting. Another term is called time-restricted eating. I'm telling you guys got to think about hopping on this bus because it can be one of the easiest ways to lose weight, but also to improve your metabolic health. That is the most important thing, what's happening at the cell level. And even though you may be discouraged from trying all types of different diets, think about it. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need to join a group. And whatever you're into, if you want low carb, you want high protein diet, you want Mediterranean diet, the basic thing is just choose to stop eating so much. Jan had a question. If you have an ulcer, can you do intermittent fasting? I'm going to defer, Jan, to your doctor. But I would imagine if you're intermittent fasting and eating the right foods, at some point your ulcer may improve. Okay. One of the key to making intermittent fasting successful is you got to find a way that it fits into your schedule. So for me, I go to sleep by 9 or 10. So I get up by 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I don't have to mess with breakfast. I come to the office by 6:30 or 7, and I can work 10 or 12-hour day with a lot of energy. You have to find something where you can be consistent. And again, intermittent fasting does not have to be done every day. You can start out doing it every other day or once or twice a week. But in order to get results, I think eventually it's going to have to become part of your routine. But as I mentioned, before starting anything, talk to your physician. Next slide. I think this is the final slide. So I did this slide before, but I like this slide because the 3 C's rule of life. All of us come to a fork in the road. At some point, we're going to have to decide if we want to move into action. We've got to make that decision, that choice. And what I have found for me, sometimes it's a very, very scary decision. I think I fear failing. And sometimes, I think we just got to take that chance. And if we don't take that chance, our life will just be the same. It will never change. Rosemary had a question. Are there risks in intermittent fasting? I already talked about people who should not be intermittent fasting. As far as risk, if you're a fairly healthy person and you're not in one of those, you're not pregnant, breastfeeding, trying to get pregnant, you're not a child, you don't have diabetes and you're on insulin, what else? If you don't have an eating disorder, I think for most people, talk to your doctor, but there really should not be any side effects or risks. Philip asks, how can I detox faster? I think that's the problem with all of us nowadays. We want to do it and we want to get a result quick. I can tell you, intermittent fasting, if you do it for one day, you're not going to notice anything. As I mentioned, in order to make it a habit or routine, I want people to ease into this. Maybe do a 12-hour fast. Maybe do a 14-hour fast. And just see how you feel. So take it slowly. And John just put, any advice for those who are about to embark on a new diet program? I do not like the term diet. I think, as in my previous talks, we mentioned eating whole foods. Concentrating on nutrient-dense foods, getting adequate protein. So I think that instead of going on a diet, concentrate on eating healthy food first. And then remember what I said, take it step by step. What you can do is stop snacking between meals. If that's working, maybe take another step and consider not eating breakfast, just having your hot tea or coffee. And what you're going to find is, wow, I think that for me, within about a week, I was starting to feel much better. Ethan Lee says no snacks. That is the first step. And really, we should be telling that to our children. Nowadays, my grandchildren, after, at 4:30 or 5, when they're done with soccer practice, oh, let's have a snack. Oh my God, have Gatorade, a sugar sweetened beverage. That is crazy. They're not going to die. And plus, if you don't have snacks, then you're going to eat better at dinner, which has the better foods. Eleanor asks, what is the best diet for people ages 20 to 30 years old? I'm going to say the same thing if you're 100 years old. You got to stop that ultra processed foods and sugars. We got to get back to basics, the way God made food. We got to go with whole fruits and vegetables. Again, right now, I think what's killing one of the major cause of pediatric obesity and adult obesity and killing our livers, our fat, and we're getting fatty liver disease, are the sugar sweetened beverages. So I want to emphasize 100% fruit juice, bad, bad, bad. It's full of fructose and water, and it's going straight into your system. Ethan just put up a question. What's the ideal number of hours of fasting for people working 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.? I think the majority of people find that the 16-hour fast with a 8-hour window of eating. So, when you wake up, skip your breakfast, have a good prepared lunch at noon, and then maybe a nice dinner at 7. So by doing that, you have a 7 or 8 hour window of eating, and then your 16 hours of fasting. But no matter what age you are, I do think that our young folks right now have been so brainwashed with all of the advertisement about sugary cereals and Jamba Juice and Starbucks and fast foods. So just start first by eating healthier, stopping the snacks, and then when you're feeling better and more energized, think about skipping breakfast. So I'm down to my last 3 minutes, but I will be back tomorrow for my last live author booth session. Again, this will be at 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to kind of look back at the topics I've talked about these past 2 weeks and talk about choices and why we have the power of choice to change things. I will be conducting a roundtable discussion tomorrow morning, and it's 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unleashing Your Healthiest Self for 2024 with, I believe, 8 other authors, maybe in the health field. So it should be very, very exciting. I'm the moderator, and I hope you will join me then. I want you, again, to take a look at my books. My website is, my website is www.authortheresawee.com. And I appreciate your time, and I hope that you will all consider what I've just spoken about. Good luck, everyone. You can access my talks on YouTube. Aloha from Hawaii. Take care, everyone. Stay healthy out there.